What a game. The Toronto Maple Leafs have won by a field goal, by a score of 10-7 over the Detroit Red Wings. It's not every night that you see a game with 17 goals scored. Clarky, what's your initial reaction from tonight's game?
Wowza. Wowza. I mean, first time in 15 years, Leafs got in double digits. I can't remember the last time they did that, and it was a crazy game, crazy goaltending, crazy scoring, crazy hits, crazy atmosphere. A lot to get into tonight, but thanks for having me on a crazy night.
Yeah, definitely. We have a lot to talk about after tonight's wild game. What a finish. What a crazy third period. 10-7 final score for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And the last time they scored 10 goals in a game was January 4th, 2007, 15 years ago, in a game in Boston against the Bruins.
Yeah, we got Brian here. And, we can't relate to that because, we're spring chickens, but I'm just kidding. We're getting old. But he says crazy 80s flashback run and gun game. Defender be damned. Yeah, he's right on that. That was a crazy game overall. And, if you're a goaltending super fan or a defensive super fan, you did not get any of that tonight.
Yeah, definitely not. Eric here, in all caps, he's screaming. It's a severe problem when you are winning 7-2 and struggle to win 10-7. The Maple Leafs emerged victorious in this game. Not the game that a coach would want to see, but from a fan perspective, on the outside looking in, this was one of the best games I've seen in a long time, strictly from an entertainment perspective.
I guess it depends the perspective you got because for me, parts of that third period, I was losing it. I thought the Leafs were going to lose the game at one point. When it was, I think it was 7-6, I was like, I didn't think they were going to win the game. And then they got that shorthanded goal or McCabe. I can't remember the order. There's just too many goals tonight, but it was a tight game at one point. It was way too close for comfort. So it was entertaining, but a little bit nerve-wracking for Leaf fans.
Well, I mean, the Leafs did have breathing room at one point. It was 7-2, and then it was 7-6. Five consecutive goals from the Detroit Red Wings. Ilya McCabe was the one who scored that goal to bolster the lead back up to 2 goals, but definitely not the performance Sheldon Keefe was looking for from the back end defensively, and more specifically in goal. There was some lackluster goaltending from both sides in this game, and it's like the coaches might as well plopped out a brick of Swiss cheese right in the middle of the net because it might have been more effective.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, you're right. It was a crazy game, and that I don't even remember the last time I've seen a game where, for Detroit, they pull their goalie in the first, they put him back in the third. That doesn't happen much either. Like their coach was trying to search for answers, and obviously with Campbell, I've seen some comments in here too. There are some concerns about him and his performance as of late, and tonight did not put any confidence in for Leaf fans, especially that third period. It was a complete blow up debacle. Um, yeah, it was not looking too good.
Yeah, so let's just discuss the goaltending issues, the goaltending flaws we saw from both sides tonight. So Jack Campbell started for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He made 17 saves on 22 shots. He had a really rocky outing out there, and more specifically, things really blew up for him uh, late in the game, and really there was a span of 5 minutes where he allowed 4 goals.
Yeah, four goals. I mean, you could make an argument for maybe one or two of those. There was a lot of weird deflections tonight. That's one thing I think is good to point out. There was a lot of tips, deflections off players on both sides. So, there was a couple bad bounces for both teams, but yeah, no excuses. I mean, Campbell he had a lapse in performance, and 4 goals in that short period of time was very concerning as a Leaf fan. I just want to get to one comment here. Two comments. Hurt Locker says goalies for both sides took the night off. That's a great way to put it. And Mile High 6 says, nice football game we watched. That's a football scoreline right there. 10-7. That's a football scoreline.
Yeah, it was like watching a Dallas Cowboys against Detroit Lions kind of game.
Yeah,
I mean, not a very not a very good game in goal for Jack Campbell. Really shaky performance. A lot of those goals, you were mentioning there's deflections, weird bounces, but you've got to have some of those. There's the one Joe Valino goal. It was shot from just outside of the circle, the face-off circle, and that was to the right of Jack Campbell, and it
right.
trickled by him in such a weird way. It wasn't as bad as the Vesatoskala 200-foot goal, but it reminded me
No,
of that. It reminded me of that because it was just such a weird bounce that you don't see.
yeah, yeah, but let's not get into Raycroft Toskala days. Those are nightmares, and try to go to bed in a couple hours here. I'd like to sleep well tonight. I don't want to think of those days.
Well, you know what? You know what, Clarky? I think it's a legitimate concern. The goaltending has been lackluster for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Jack Campbell's been really shaky. His confidence appears to be shaken up. Uh, in his last three outings, he's allowed 14 goals. That's not good enough. You're not going to win very many games like that. The Toronto Maple Leafs have been lucky to pull out victorious in some of these games.
Yeah, I agree with Dennis Rodriguez saying Campbell was shaky. You're right. I mean, that confirms it too. 14 goals in the past 3 games. That's just not solid goaltending. What you want to see. I mean, we did see Mrazek play good the other night against the Wild, but I know Campbell is still supposed to be the number one goalie. But this is NHL and nothing's given. So we shall see down the stretch. But right now it does not look good, and we might have a little bit of a goaltending dilemma in the six.
Clarky, you just said, do you feel as if Jack Campbell's the Maple Leafs starting goaltender right now? Because I don't think that the Maple Leafs have a starting goaltender at this present moment.
Well, I'm curious to see what everyone says in the comments here. Who do you think is Toronto's bona fide starting? You can say no one if you want because that's probably the right answer. But I did say Campbell, so I'm going to stick with Campbell. Just like I stuck with Anderson until Campbell proved me wrong last year. I'm going to stick with Campbell right now just because of what he's done. He's an all-star. He was at the all-star game 2 weeks ago, so he was playing great earlier in the season. I'm going to, hope that he can get back to that form. Right now, it's questionable, but I got to stick with Campbell as the starter right now.
You know, I Jack Campbell he had a fantastic start to the season. He really took the league by storm. No one was expecting him to have the start to the season that he did, and it was fantastic. It was great to watch, but he's really experienced a decline since then. Peter Mrazek hasn't been much better. I think that the Maple Leafs have two goaltenders who have been inconsistent this season, and they need to play it out and ride the hot hand. I think this is a goaltender competition in Toronto right now.
Yeah, and the comment section's kind of mixed. Um, our man says time to bench Campbell, couple of games or give him a rest. Maybe that's a good point. He was definitely being overused for a while now when Mrazek was out. So our man, you might have a point there. Clap Show says it's definitely Soup because he's struggling right now. Hopefully, he snaps out of it. So agreeing with me, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of conflicting views right now in Leafland. I agree
And
with you. It's hard to say who's number one.
and the Toronto Maple Leafs need one of these goaltenders, at least one of these goaltenders, to really try to emerge as that number one goaltender. The Maple Leafs need much better performances from their goalkeepers because, as I mentioned, you're not going to win many games when you're allowing 4 or 5 goals a game. But the Maple Leafs, on a positive note, they got lucky tonight. They had a lot of offensive production, especially from that top line. What a performance offensively from Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and Michael Bunting. They combined for 15 points in this game. The rest of the team scored 11 points.
Yeah, I'd say it's the hottest line in the NHL right now. And for me, the first two guys or second two guys, you really see Matthews, Marner. We've seen that for years, but Bunting been very impressed how he's played lately, scoring goals, getting assists. being a nuisance for each team he goes up against. The guy's been unreal and rookie. So, you can't say much more about how well he's performed. Really above expectations, and especially filling in for Hyman, playing a different type of hockey, but getting the job done. And you could even see at the one point in the game, Keefe was laughing when he saw Bunting get into a little fisticuffs with the other team. He was laughing because everyone knows that Bunting's kind of that pesty player, but he's a good player. He's a very good player.
Yeah, he's a special talent. He gets under the skin of the opponents. It's really fun to watch Michael Bunting out there on a nightly basis. He is a driving force on that top line for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and a big reason they've had so much success this season. Uh, Michael Bunting had a goal and 4 assists out there tonight. Let's get into the 3 stars because we were talking about the top line, and in my opinion, all 3 stars of this game are on the top line for the Toronto Maple Leafs. The first star of the game is Mitch Marner, scoring his first career hat trick. He also scored 4 goals in a game for the Toronto Maple Leafs for the first time since Austin Matthews did it in his NHL debut. What a performance from Mitch Marner out there.
Some nice goals, some nice shots. I mean, we did talk about the weak goaltending and partly attributed to that, but Marner shooting the puck more, and yeah, great performance by him tonight.
Fantastic. And the second star of the game, Michael Bunting. We were just talking about how he's a driving force on this top line. He's been a great replacement for Zach Hyman at a much cheaper price. 1 goal,
Yeah,
4 assists tonight.
yeah, like we were just talking about, Bunting. He's just a player. He's all over the ice. Doesn't matter what type of position the Leafs are in on any time in a given night. He's always playing hard. And like I said, he made the coach laugh tonight because so the type of personality he brings to this team. So he's a great addition this year.
Definitely, he's been a great addition, and I mean, I think it's safe to say he's exceeded the expectations that he had set for him when he signed here in Toronto. Not many people knew a lot about Michael Bunting.
No, and I mean he's a rookie, but obviously aged rookie, and he's kind of had a unique journey to the NHL. But proven that he's a really good pickup, and Dubas or whoever on that staff eyed him out. Great pick.
Yeah, he's really made the most of his opportunity up there on the first line. Third star of the game, the center and the real driving force of that first line is Austin Matthews, the superstar of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Had another goal tonight, 3 assists. Excuse my spelling there, but three assists, and the goal scored by Austin Matthews tonight regained the NHL's goal scoring lead with 37 on the season.
Yeah, for everyone that watched that game tonight, the broadcast really talked about that goal scoring race right now, and it is really important. But I think just going overall, he had a few assists tonight, and I think that as much as he's in the race to get the goal scoring title, and he probably really cares about it, he doesn't play like he's trying to score every play. He has a few nice assists tonight. He's playing it as a team player, and he's all over the ice and winning key faceoffs. So overall, great game. Nice to see that he took that scoring lead again tonight, but great team play tonight by him.
Austin Matthews is like a puck magnet. The puck always seems to find his stick, or he always seems to find the puck in areas where you wouldn't expect him to get it. It's really outstanding what he's able to do out there on the ice on a nightly basis. And he reversed the roles a little bit with Mitch Marner tonight, setting him up for some goals.
Yeah, yeah, it was a great combination by that line tonight. And like I said, I think they're the best line in the NHL. But it was a crazy game overall.
So Clark, yeah, the other night for Thursday's post game show, I had Matt on here when we were discussing the possibility of Austin Matthews scoring 60 goals in this season. I predicted that before the season kicked off. I said he'd get to 60 this season. So I want to know, he's at 37 and 51 games. Do you think he can reach 60 goals by the end of the season?
I'm going to do a quick calculation here. He's
All
got
right,
37 and 51.
37 goals in 51 games.
Okay.
Note he's missed a few games.
How many games are left? 30?
How many games remaining? There's 31.
31? Okay. Yeah, he's going to get it.
Yeah, you think so? 60
Yeah.
goals this season for Austin Matthews?
Yeah, so I just did a basic calculation. I took his average, 37 divided by 51. That's a 0.072 goals per game. I took 0.72 times the remaining games, 31. That gives you 22 goals, 22.9 goals. You got to round up for Austin Matthews, 23 goals. So it's 37. That's 60 on the dot. He's going to get 60 goals this season.
Yeah, I could see it 100%. Those are great calculations. Way to crunch the numbers real quick, Clarky. Um, Eric says you gave up seven. You give up 7 goals. Your defense played badly, and the defense wasn't great out there tonight. But I don't think that the defense was the main reason that these goals were allowed. I think the goaltending was the main issue tonight on both sides.
Yeah, Eric has a point. I mean, defense at sometimes was spotty, but I agree with you. I mean, especially for the Leafs, I texted you. I said this game's over. It was 7-1. I should have remembered we're Leaf fans. What will go wrong does go wrong, and just blew up. And I thought majority of that blow up was due to Campbell, but you could attribute some of those plays, like for instance that one Raymond tip. Maybe Brody could have cleared him in front of the net. So there are some little plays here and there that you could point to the defense, but I think just some of the positioning by Campbell and some of the goals that went in, they were weak, very weak. As for the other team, can't speak for Detroit goaltending. That's
Was there a goaltender out there that you thought, like, was there a goal rather that you thought was the worst one out there tonight? Because the one that I have in mind was when Jack Campbell was behind his own net and he played the puck along the boards and it goes right to the stick of the Detroit player, Sam Gagner, and he puts it right in the empty net.
yeah. I thought that was probably the worst one because he misplayed the puck. But there was a couple Detroit goalies goaltending moves, like even the one where I forget who scored it, but it was a breakaway and the goalie went to Popek. I think it was Bunting. Bunting passed to Marner, or Marner passed to Bunting, and the goalie literally dove to Pope check it and left a wide open net. Like it was just, both goaltenders or all four goaltenders kind of played like they were fish out of water tonight. Like just flopping all over the ice. It was not a very clean performance for either team in goaltending.
Yeah, it was one of the worst goaltending performances I've seen in a long time. I was horrendous out there, but all in all, I thought it was a really entertaining game. It's not often you see 17 goals scored in a game. It was truly a football score out there.
Yeah, I see an interesting comment here, Robert. I want to ask you and everyone here: does this have an impact on the game? Obviously, chemistry wise, but do you think this had an impact? The entire defensive pairings were changed tonight. So you saw Riley was playing with who was it, Hall, or was it Brody with Hall?
Well, Brody was down with Hall.
Brody was with Hall. What were the other ones? Riley was with Sandine.
Uh,
I
the
can't remember.
Bushkin was
Oh,
up there at one point too.
I think he moved it around multiple
Yeah, he
times throughout
moved
the
it
game.
around multiple times throughout the game, and I mean, it definitely had an effect on the game. But I really am sticking to what I said earlier. The main reason for the Maple Leafs allowing 7 goals in this game was the woes in net. It was a struggle all game long. Uh,
Lilligren, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
Liljegren was up
Lilligren,
there.
yeah.
Travis Dermott missed tonight's game. He's been performing well. He uh, reportedly was out with an illness, non-COVID related. So there's been a flu going around the Toronto Maple Leafs locker room as of late, and the defense really needs. They need to figure something out quickly ahead of the trade deadline.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I'm sure some of the fans in here have comments about trade deadline, and there's going to be a lot of rumors running up to it. But right now, there does seem like there's some pieces on the market, and Toronto's kind of got to determine. I'm sure Dubas is determining this as he goes along. Obviously, he's made moves lately too. but are they going to trade for a defenseman, um, forward, or are they going to stay put? It's going to be interesting to see what Toronto does. It's going to be a lot of speculation too, but that deadline is fast approaching, so Leafs are going to have to determine they're buyers, sellers, or doing nothing.
Yeah, the trade deadline is under a month away now, so big decisions are going to be made for the Toronto Maple Leafs. There's a lot of teams selling on this market this season because more teams are out of the playoff race than there are in the playoff race. That's obviously going to affect the value of these pieces that are being acquired by teams that are contending and pushing in the playoffs. But I think that the Maple Leafs are really going to look to do whatever improves their lineup the most. Whatever Kyle Dubas feels improves the lineup the most, and whether that's a top six left winger to go beside John Tavares rather, and William Nylander, or if that's someone to help on that blue line. Whatever he feels is going to help improve most.
Yeah, I know. I didn't really think we were going to talk about this tonight, but you just brought up his name, and I saw a couple comments. Tavares, what do you think of his performance as of late? He's not looked great.
It's been really lackluster. It really haven't noticed him much out there on the ice, and in a game that was 10-7, I don't even think he got on the score sheet tonight.
I'll
No,
check.
no,
No, he didn't.
He
He
didn't get
didn't.
on the score sheet tonight, and he had 3 shots on goal. Not a great performance from John Tavares tonight.
Yeah.
Another game goalless. That's 13 games without a goal for John Tavares.
Yeah, that's bad. Like
And
I don't know what else to say. That's just bad.
well, I think the Toronto Maple Leafs really need John Tavares going down the stretch towards the playoffs because you remember last year when he was out and the Toronto Maple Leafs lineup was really affected by that in the playoffs. Once John Tavares was out, it was the Montreal Canadiens' plan was okay, let William Nylander do what he wants. As long as we shut down Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, we can defeat the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that's what happened. So if John Tavares can't step up his performance, which I expect him to because he's John Tavares, he's a great player, but if he can't do that,
Yeah.
then I don't really expect the Toronto Maple Leafs to have much success later in the season.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue his face-off percentage when, he wins a lot of key face-offs and he does a lot of like, two-way play, back checks a lot, but yeah, it's
That's just not what the Maple Leafs are paying him $11 million per season to do.
yeah, dyslexic says 0 points and whiffed on some bad plays and shots. Look terrible. I agree with that. I mean, kind of like we're talking about with Campbell, is Tavares going through one of those routes where his confidence is shot right now, and he's probably got a lot of pressure on him because he's been a star in this league for years, and he's the captain of the team. So, do you think that he's definitely going through a confidence issue right now, or mojo, or something? Because it just doesn't look like the player he's been in this league for years.
I don't think it's a confidence thing because he's been playing in the league for such a long time. It's definitely something that it's bothering him. There's no doubt about that. John Tavares, he came to Toronto. He wanted to win in Toronto. He's from Toronto, right? Like this, he's always wanted to be a Maple Leaf, and he's always wanted to perform well for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's the captain of the team. He takes pride
Yeah,
in that, and he takes pride in his performance. And when he's not leading by example, I'm sure that really affects him off the ice as well. So I don't think it's a confidence thing. Again, because he's been such a great player for such a long time, but I think it's just
yeah,
something that he needs to get the monkey off his back.
yeah. I agree. Clegg Juicer. Some of these names they're funny. Tavares is obviously playing hurt, guys. I don't. I did you hear something about that?
Well,
I guess
I'm not on the Maple Leafs medic staff.
I
I
guess
can't make an
Clegg
assessment
Juicer.
there.
He's got some. You're gonna have to add him to your list. He has some inside sources because he's clearly playing hurt or something. I never heard that before.
Well, again, I, you never know. Could be, but I don't
Yeah,
think I'm not in a position to say that. I'm not in a position to say, okay, John Tavares is hurt because I'm not on the medic staff. So, uh,
yeah,
But if you haven't already, please make sure you smash the like button and hit the notification bell to be notified every time new content's being released on the channel. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, smash that like button. That was a crazy game tonight. I was kind of afraid to come on here because I didn't know what we're talking about.
Well,
That was a crazy game to watch. Crazy game. And I don't know how I feel about it.
yeah, really, there's so much to dissect from tonight's game. Like we could go, there's so many different angles we could touch on about tonight's performance. When you have a top line that's playing the way it is, the second line hasn't been performing up to standards. William Nylander scored a goal tonight, but you expect more from the second line, especially in a game where the Maple Leafs scored 10 goals. The goaltending issue is evident. The blue line play as of late has been shaky, so there's so much to discuss when it comes to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the biggest topic tonight was goaltending for both teams. But like for instance, there's other stats that stood out. I think it was Bunting, Matthews, and Marner, 14 points tonight. The rest of the team had 11. So they were kind of carried by one line tonight, which is, again, going back to what we're talking about with consistency from the rest of the team. Although we did see some nice performance from the third line. Robertson is another thing we can talk about. But it looked like that first line really carried the Leafs tonight in parts of the game.
Yeah, I mean, they carried them all throughout the game. I felt like at the end of the game, you got some more production from your bottom six kind of guys. The penalty kill, another penalty kill goal, the eighth of the season for the Toronto Maple Leafs was scored. You mentioned Nick Robertson, and I thought he looked good out there. He had some
Yeah,
nice opportunities in tonight's game. Such a great skater, and he's got a fantastic shot. So I'm excited to see what Nick Robertson brings to this lineup a little more down the road for the Maple Leafs.
yeah. Everyone, comment what you think about Robertson's debut tonight again. I thought he added a lot of speed to that fourth line right off the bat in that first period. They looked a lot more dangerous than they had in past few games, and you can tell that he can definitely have a future on this team. He's a very fast and what looks like a very skilled player. So hopefully, if he could stay healthy and stay back up with the Leafs, definitely maybe he can contribute down the stretch because he looks like NHL caliber for sure. NHL caliber.
Absolutely NHL caliber, and Nick Robertson's a player that the Maple Leafs fan base has been waiting to see for quite some time. Really, ever since that play-in round, they got a little taste of what he's capable of doing against the Columbus Blue Jackets in the bubble. And he's faced some injuries, dealt with some injuries, had a leg injury this season. He missed time for most of the season last year after getting injured in his first game at the NHL level during the regular season. So he's really had a tough go of it as of late, but I'm excited to see what he can do and if he can match what Jason Robertson's impact has been on the Dallas Stars.
Yeah, is he his younger or older brother? Older, right?
Older, yeah. So I mean, runs in the family. They've got a solid solid
Yeah,
athletic ability.
well, I was curious actually. Like I kind of looked up his background during the game. So he's born in California. His parents moved them when he was like 7 to Saskatchewan to play for a better hockey team or something. Then he was playing at one point in his youth down in Detroit, and then he played in Toronto right before getting drafted to the Peterborough Petes. So he's played around, and he's probably got a lot of experience in his junior career. And obviously with the Petes, his stats are unreal. So I think he could definitely contribute to this team in the future. It's just a matter of keeping him around and hopefully staying healthy on his end.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see if he sticks up here in the Maple Leafs uh, with the Toronto Maple Leafs for the remainder of the season or not, or if it's just really a test run, see what he can do, see how his impact is. I think that it's going to be measured closely by Sheldon Keefe and this coaching staff over the next however long he's here for.
Yep.
But someone who has, I mean, he stole the show out there tonight, Mitch Marner. He's obviously known for what he's capable of doing out there on an NHL ice surface. Maple Leafs are 14 and 1 this season when Mitch Marner scores a goal. So when Mitch Marner scores a goal, 14-1, and good things happen when he shoots the puck on net.
Yeah, tonight 4 goals. He's got a good shot. I mean, I think that shot should have came out in the NHL years ago. I think it was just he didn't think that was his role in the team, but you know, he's welcome to shoot more because he's a sniper. He's a playmaker, but he can also be a sniper, and tonight he showed that.
Yeah, he's got the ability to. He's got a great shot. We'd just like to see him utilize it more. That's something that he's been doing as of late. He shot the puck a lot more recently, but if he can continue to do that, the Maple Leafs will really benefit from it.
Yeah, Alex M saying here, nice seeing Marner shooting more. Couldn't agree. Couldn't agree any more than that. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, definitely,
Nice and simple, straight to the point.
definitely. Because as Wayne Gretzky said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And Mitch Marner, one of the biggest criticisms he's faced over his time in Toronto is how often he would look off shots and pass the puck instead.
Yeah, and I think he got ripped by the media, partly rightfully so, partly maybe a bit too much at the end of the playoffs last year. I think one of the main criticisms for him was maybe not shooting enough, maybe not being overall aggressive enough. And I think he took that to heart in the offseason. And this year, 18 goals, more than 18, I think 20 now in the season. He's definitely a big time player, and he's improved year over year. Let's hope he can keep it together down the stretch into the playoffs, though.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing, right? It all comes back to that. We will see how it translates if this success can carry over into the playoffs for Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews as well. And Hot Tuna says we all know Matthews and Marner are great. We now need to see them perform in the playoffs. 100% Hot Tuna, definitely. That's the story. Really, for the whole Toronto Maple Leafs organization, they're solid regular season team. But can they do it in the playoffs? Can they get it done in the playoffs? We'll see. Uh,
Oh, I'm on mute there. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, 17 goal game. I was going to take the over tonight. I think it was 6.5 goals over tonight, and I didn't. But 17 goal lead, that's crazy. That's crazy. And I mean, that's not playoff caliber. If you're up 7-1 and then the game becomes 7-6, that's not playoff caliber team right there. That's
no, no, it's not.
I don't
It's
know.
definitely not a playoff caliber type of game. This was not playoff hockey we just watched. This was like backyard street hockey we just watched with like your house league goalie in net. That's what this was like. Timbits hockey. It was like a scrimmage, and
Yeah.
not the type of hockey that Sheldon Keefe's going to be excited to see. Definitely not. Uh,
He was I think he was kind of laughing at the end of the game there, like when they were tied or it was 8-7, they were just like I remember him looking up to the clock.
he couldn't get out of there fast enough. It was just he was probably thinking this is unbelievable. And
Yeah.
you were mentioning you were thinking about taking the over under. It was set at what 6.5? You said.
Yeah, I had 6.5 and it was about even
Yeah,
odds.
that's a big over under. And if you hit that, you would have hit that by quite a wide margin. What I had tonight was the Maple Leafs spread by 2.5. So it ended up working out for me, but it was definitely some nervous times, especially in that third period.
You know what I ended up taking? I took Spets at 2 shots. I didn't get it.
He didn't hit. Oh no.
No, no. I thought he was gonna get on that second power play unit and get a couple slappers off.
Well, not tonight. That's unfortunate. Did the prop bet that I'm liking a lot with the Toronto Maple Leafs is Marner Over 2.5 shots because he's been shooting the puck a lot more recently. That's
Yeah.
a that's a prop that I like to take.
Yeah, I mean, that was a crazy game. I mean, I can only imagine if people had 4 goals on Marner, that huge payout there. But yeah, none of this is gambling advice because I never win, so you wouldn't want to listen to me.
Well, I have Mitch Marner on one of my fantasy teams, and it was a great night for my fantasy team to rake up 6 points, 4 goals. That's that's awesome.
Yeah, you know what we didn't talk about yet is some of the play by the supporting cast. And I saw a few comments in here about like McCabe, Kasha, Kampf. There's some good supporting play by these guys tonight, and I think that that deserves a mention because it's not every night you have that third line stepping up and the penalty kill. You got that nice shorthanded goal, so I think that that was definitely a positive from tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about how the first line raked up 15 points tonight, but without the performance of Ilya Mikheyev, Andre Kasha, David Kampf, the penalty kill unit, and the bottom six for the or the bottom nine for the Toronto Maple Leafs, without that performance, uh, the Maple Leafs wouldn't have won this game. They they would have blown this game if it weren't for that Ilya Mikheyev goal that made it 8-6. I really feel like that goal saved the game for the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, you know what's funny too? I'm actually looking at total ice on time, um, and tonight Mikheyev had 18 minutes on ice tonight. Matthews only had 14. So actually, Keefe was relying on that third line a lot tonight. And I think there was some points where that third line was kind of the rock when the Leafs were in that shaky third period. You saw, that the first 2 lines not doing anything, and he was playing his bottom six a lot. Um, so it was interesting to see tonight because most nights you don't see that. Most nights you see, Matthews playing 20 plus minutes, even Tavares 18, 19 minutes, but definitely relied more on those secondary guys tonight, and it paid off then.
Well, the Maple Leafs were shorthanded 3 times in this game, so that makes up 6 minutes right there.
Right, right.
And and then the third period, when they go into the period with a big lead, I believe it was 7-2 going into the third period, you would expect them to roll out the bottom lines a bit more because you'd think, okay, we're going to close this game out, maybe rely on some of those guys, Mikheyev, Kasha, Spezza, those type of players to really grind the game out from there on out. But that just wasn't the way it ended up going for the Maple Leafs. Uh, Obviously, 10-7 being the final score. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, yeah, it was a crazy game. Oh, this is kind of an interesting comment here. Frank Rusty Nails says Mikheyev is trade bait. He's not resigning with the Leafs. Recoup something for him. I think Dubas has to stop the own rentals.
It's possible Frank Rusty Nails. We could see earlier on in the season, there was information that was leaked about how McCabe had requested to be traded from the Maple Leafs, and Kyle Dubas declined. He said, "No, we're not going to trade you. We have you under contract for another season." And
Didn't his agent deny it after though, or something like that? Like I thought it
uh,
was denied. Like they said they didn't request it.
I'm not certain, but I just know that this information was leaked out there, and uh, this was the story. There's a big story about that, and Kyle Dubas turned down that. Reportedly turned down the trade request from Ilya Mikheyev. So I don't really understand what the benefit of trading Mikheyev would be, to be honest, unless you're getting someone that you feel makes a bigger impact than Ilya Mikheyev, which I don't know. Ilya Mikheyev's his contract's not massive,
No, it's
and
1.6, 1.645.
he's a free agent at the end of the season, sure, but is that someone that you want to get rid of when you're trying to make a push in the playoffs, and he plays such a key, pivotal role on the penalty kill? I'm not sure that's someone that Maple Leafs want to see depart.
I'm gonna have to disagree with Frank Rustinells here, just because I think the one thing Dubas is good at is definitely not good at signing big contracts because top four making all that money. But what he is good at is finding players in supporting roles. And I think if we do, worst case scenario, have to let McCabe go, I'm not saying you can just find another McCabe like that, but you could definitely pick up a player. Dubas has proven in the past he can pick up players on that third and fourth line that can play on the penalty kill, got speed, and who knows, maybe it opens up a spot for a guy like Robertson and to play Engvall too. Obviously, they'd have to replace him in some capacity, but I don't think you try to tinkle things right now just because you're worried you're going to let him go at the end of the year. This guy's not like Mikheiv's great, but he's not a blockbuster player by no means. So I think you got to keep him how he is, and if you got to let him go at the end of the year. Got to let him go. But I think right now he's playing a good role on the team.
Yeah, I think McCabe has really been solid for the Maple Leafs this year. He's had some nice supplemental scoring for the team, and his role on the penalty kill. He's just such a great asset on that PK unit.
Yeah, yeah, he's a good player, and he is. Do you think he's going to get? How much more do you think he'll get? He's making 1.645 right now.
Uh, I
You
see
he'll
him
get
as a play.
three.
I see him up in the 2 to 3 range, 2.5, 3 range per season,
Probably
probably.
he probably wants term. He has a 2-year contract right now. He'll probably want at least. He's 27. He'll probably want a pretty big contract. I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
yeah, he probably. I mean, I think that the way he's playing this season, he's earned uh, a bit of a promotion in the terms of pay. So right now, Austin Matthews, we discussed how you did your calculations, crunching the numbers, and we discussed the possibility of him reaching 60 goals. We both said that we believe he will do it this season. Right now, Austin Matthews leads the NHL in goals with 37. Do you think that Austin Matthews will repeat as the Rocket Richard winner this season?
Austin Matthews.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah. I mean, it's so fun to watch him on a nightly basis. We're so lucky to be able to watch a generational talent like Austin Matthews, and the way he scores, the way he defends now, it's surreal.
Yeah, he's a top caliber player, and you know he had a slow start to the season, but he's really got going lately. And every game, he just seems to find an opportunity. And if he's not scoring right now, Bunting or Marner is. That line is on fire.
Yep, absolutely. They're producing like a top line in the NHL, and I believe uh, right now they're playing like the top line in the NHL. It's great to watch out there every night, and 10 goals scored from the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. No shortage of offensive production, but you'd like to see some better performance in goal uh, with not only Jack Campbell, Peter Mrazek also allowed six goals. Or he made 6 shots. He made 6 saves on 8 shots out there tonight, allowing 2 goals.
There you go. There you go.
So not a great performance from Peter Mrazek in relief, but he also kind of got thrown out there into the fire. So he
I
stood his
know.
ground.
Maybe it was his old team. They knew some tricks on him, but yeah, it's just a couple. Again, I think one was a tip goal, the other one a little bit weak. But yeah, he did not. He came in and kind of didn't really shore up the problems that we were having with Campbell, and it was just a rough go for a goaltending tonight. I had never seen combined goaltending performances like that. Sometimes you get those games where it'll be like 3-4 goals on the goaltender, and then they put in a backup and they kind of shore it up. But tonight the backups were worse, or just they were this worse. They were worse than the starters. I think maybe not on the Leafs, but Detroit especially. Their backup, I thought they shouldn't have pulled Nedeljkovic so early, and they put in their backup, and I thought he was worse than Nedeljkovic. So it was a crazy game tonight for goaltending.
Yeah, and they threw Nedeljkovic back out there again. The last time I saw that done in a game was it was years ago when Ryan Miller was on the Buffalo Sabres, They were wearing those goat head jerseys, and it was a game in Toronto. The Sabres got torched that night, and Ryan Miller got taken out, and then he got put back out there because the goaltender in Leaf didn't play much better. So
Yeah, yeah.
sorry. Uh,
No, it was crazy to see that.
who are you going if you're Sheldon Keefe? Who are you rolling with as your starting goalie Monday night against the Washington Capitals?
That is it at home or is it on the road?
I believe it's on the road. Yeah, it's on the
I think
road.
it's on the
Seven.
road,
It's
right?
on the road.
I think you got to go. He said in one of his pressers that he didn't want to alternate goalies, but I think you got to go with Mrazek right now. Um, I think you got to go with Mrazek.
Yeah. So you're saying Sheldon Keefe said in a press conference that he didn't want to rotate goaltenders, and you kind of want to make one goaltender have more confidence and truly emerge as the number one goaltender. But right now, you have to play the rotation until one of these goaltenders really pulls ahead of the other one in performance. I see Ron's comment that you're
Yeah, that's
laughing
a
at,
good comment. That's a good
but
comment.
I'm gonna say they have to play Peter Mrazek Monday night. You can't go back to Jack Campbell after he's allowed 14 goals in his last 3 outings.
Yeah, and I mean, just like kind of how Campbell got his position on the Toronto Maple Leafs, he took it from a starting goaltender. I mean, we don't want that to happen to Campbell because he's been an all-star this year. But if Mrazek starts to play good down the stretch, this, like we said, this is the NHL. Nothing's given. These guys are professionals, and you got to go with the professional who's performing better. And if Mrazek starts to perform better, the Leafs got to go with Mrazek. But right now, I think it's just Campbell needs a rest. I think Campbell probably needs a rest.
Yeah, he needs to just clear his mind or something. Really not let this game affect him. It's gonna be hard to do. Easier said than done after you allow that many goals in a game in your home state of Michigan. So that's probably something that adds to his uh, potential confidence issue, if you want to call it that. So yeah, Peter Mrazek's gonna go into goal Monday. I would assume.
You
I think
never
that's
know,
a pretty.
though.
I think that's a pretty safe bet.
I think he's going to play Mrazek personally, but I wouldn't be 100% shocked. I would only be shocked if he played Wool. I see some comments saying they want to play Wool right now.
Not
Andrew says Wool's not coming back up.
no.
Ron Gent says Wool, though.
You're not gonna
Is
call
Wool
up.
starting on Monday?
You're not gonna call up the 23-year-old goaltender
I
and
say you start Wool. You start Wool. Do either of them have a two-way contract?
no,
Campbell probably
no,
does.
no,
No?
no. They would both have to clear waivers. That's
Oh,
not. You're not gonna do that. Not
okay.
doing that. Uh, Matt,
Maybe the Zamboni guy. What's his name again?
David Ayers.
Yeah, David Ayers. He's pretty acrobatic. Could call him up.
So Matthew Jack said, we're just gonna carry on from that. Matthew Jack says Mrazek is a better goaltender in his opinion, and Chris debates that. Says can't say Mrazek is better when he's only played 6 games.
Ooh,
Uh,
we got a debate in the comment
so
section.
and
That's what I like to see.
or 11 games, whatever. So it's just really the best case scenario for the Toronto Maple Leafs is that both these goaltenders get hot because they're both capable of being solid goaltenders in the NHL. It's just sustaining that is the issue for them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you can make the argument for both of them. I'm still in the soup camp just because, that's our guy from last year. And although we didn't hold it 100 in the playoffs, he's still again, I said it a couple times already on the show, he's still an all-star this season. The start of the season, he was playing really well. And I think he's still the de facto starter. But that being said, if something happens, something happens. Mrazek comes in, he'll be the de facto starter. So right now we got a little bit of a goalie battle in Toronto.
I feel like what you're saying is that it's Jack Campbell's net to lose, and I would agree with that. Jack Campbell, I feel, has the higher ceiling of these two goaltenders, especially after what we saw that
Well, he is
stretch
30.
early,
He is 30 though.
the
What do you
stretch
mean
early in the
ceiling?
season. Higher
What do you
ceiling.
mean? What do you
He
mean
played.
ceiling though? He's not a rookie. He's not a
I'm just saying,
prospect.
dude, he has a higher ceiling, as if meaning he can play at a higher level,
Oh, okay. Okay.
and that's my personal opinion.
Like you're saying that when if you took both goalies playing at their best, Campbell's going to be better.
I think so.
Fair enough.
So I feel as if it's Jack Campbell's net to lose, but he's losing it right now.
Yeah.
And you're seeing names in here. I'm all for
Yeah, I'm
Marc
reading
Andre
some. I'm
Fleury
reading
or
some of these trade comments
John
right now.
Gibson. Uh,
How are you going to get those guys in?
well, the Maple
Frank, you
Leafs have
can't say those names. You got to write up a trade for us right now.
the Maple Leafs do have some cap space clear right now, over $5 million in cleared cap after Jake Muzzin's injury. But I feel as if you're not. Does it,
Here's the
I'm just
rule. Here's the rule. If you guys are going to throw out those names that I like seeing, I want a situation where you're going to say how the Leafs are going to get them realistically. I'll listen, and then what we'll do is we'll email Dubis with our trade recommendations. We'll say this is from Maple Leafs media
I'm not
and
gonna do
and
that.
fans.
I'm not doing that.
Frank Rusty Nails, chief researcher, and his trade comments. We'll send them in and see what happens.
You can do that right up because I'm not. But we'll. So Hurt Locker says Mrazek 3.8 for Flurry, 50% cap retained. Uh, I mean, I guess it's possible, but if I
What's
mean,
the
Marc Andre Fleury would be
look
it
up
would,
his
it would be
salary?
really fun to watch Marc Andre Fleury. He's one of my favorite goaltenders of all time. It'd be really fun to watch him play in Toronto, try to go on a cup run with the Leafs, but
Man, he's got a juicy contract.
we'll see.
He
How
makes
many years
7 mil a year. He
does his
makes 7 mil a
contract
year.
expire this season?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I thought. So I mean, it'd be an interesting rental, but
He's made
then
80 mil in his career. Flurry.
you want some security long term.
Guy's gonna be
Do
set.
you want security long term in gold though?
Well, he's old. Yeah, yeah, you're right. He's 37.
And
Um,
if the Maple Leafs were to trade Peter Mrazek this season, they would have to re-sign Jack Campbell and or Marc Andre Fleury this offseason, or run with a 24-year-old inexperienced goaltender in Joseph Wall. So I love the idea of having Marc Andre Fleury in a Maple Leafs uniform, but I don't know
I
if it's
think
actually a good idea.
you clean house and you call up Wall and Hutchie and you do those your number
Don't be
one and two.
ridiculous. Don't be ridiculous. That's enough.
Wall and Hutchie. Come on.
That's the
Oh,
Toronto Marlies duo right now.
Chris has got a interesting, juicy offer down here. You got that one?
Okay. Yeah. So Justin Hall, Hervinen, Abrazizi, a first and a third for JT Miller and Luke Shen. Luke Shen would be a. I'd love to add Luke Shen to the Toronto Maple Leafs lineup again. He's a bruising defenseman. We saw what he did. He broke the glass when he hit Rasmus Sandin earlier this season in Vancouver. JT Miller, he's got championship pedigree, and he's really someone that slot in nicely on that top six lineup. I think I'd do that probably, but it's really, will the Vancouver Canucks do that?
I don't know. I think I'd only do it because you're getting rid of Hall.
Well, you know what, Justin Hall had some nice. We got, you know what? Let's give Justin Hall his roses for the assists he had early in this game because we
Three assists
criticize him a
tonight.
lot.
3 assists tonight.
We criticize him a lot, but he had a really nice stretch pass early in the game. He had a
Yeah.
behind the back feed to Michael Bunting as well. So give some roses to Justin Hall for those plays tonight because we do criticize him a lot.
Yeah, Hall's been getting ripped on lately, especially if you go on Twitter during a game. But it was just 1 year ago where we were all, or at least you and I, were talking about how him and Muzzin were a great defensive pairing together. And I think Hall is, again, one of those players kind of like Campbell where he's peaked later in his career, 27, 28, just coming in the league. But he's shown signs of promise, but lately he's been brutal. So I
Yeah,
don't know.
last year he really exceeded expectations last year. It seemed as if I remember we discussed how he solidified himself in the top four for the Toronto Maple Leafs last season, and then he completely erased all of that this year with his performance because it's been lackluster at best. It has not been good enough to be in a top four uh, pairing role for any team that's contending.
No, no, it hasn't been. One side comment. Rusty Nails, your trade offers don't make me upset. Don't worry. I just want you to make a two-way. So if you want a player, say what the Leafs got to do to get them. But yeah, going back to Hall, Wolf Tank's got a good comment. They say Hall needs to be consistent, not have one good game. So I think that's a true comment lately. I think consistency is something
Definitely.
he need out of him.
Definitely. You need him to be steady. You don't need him to be a star every night. You just need him to be steady. And he's an important piece for the Toronto Maple Leafs blue line at this moment. But again, we need to see what he's capable of doing because he's last year he was much better than this. If he can get back to that level, then it would be great. But it has to be consistent.
Yeah, how do you say this new guy's name? Labushkin?
Il-
Labushkin?
Ilya Labushkin, the Russian
Labushkin?
bear.
Labushkin?
Labushkin.
Labushkin. He's I'm not gonna buy into him right now, but he looks pretty decent. Labushkin?
Yeah,
Labushkin?
he's a he's a real defensive player. He's a defensive-minded player, and that's kind of what the Toronto Maple Leafs needed on that bottom pairing.
Big
It's
boy,
more
eh?
of a
He's a big boy.
stay-at-home defender, kind of the replacement for Zach Bogosian from last year.
6'2", 208.
And you know
Pretty
what?
big guy.
He's feisty too. He makes a lot of hits. He's averaging over 2 hits per game this season. So that's something that the Maple Leafs definitely wanted to add to their lineup, more sandpaper and grit, more toughness on the back end, and they did it with Labushkin.
Yeah, I guess do you think he's gonna be bona fide in that starting six, or do you think he's gonna be floated in and out of the lineup?
I think that depends on what the Toronto Maple Leafs do at the trade deadline. But as of right now, he definitely has a role on the Maple Leafs Maple Leafs starting lineup, and I think he probably will either way, no matter what the Maple Leafs do at the trade deadline. But I think he's going to be an important piece going forward.
Yeah, you know what? I think, and again, I don't know what's going to happen with Muzzin, so we got to keep that in mind. But it's just like for me right now, I don't know where you're at and everyone else is at, but I still think the number one concern is the defense. Personally, it's just are the Leafs' hands kind of tied with what they can do given who's out there and what they're willing to give up to get who's out there? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's really concerning. It has been a concern all season long, and just because the goaltending was horrible tonight doesn't mean the defense was great. The defense wasn't good. It's not good if you allow 7 goals. So it needs to be better. It's really struggled all season long, and Jake Muzzin on long-term injured reserve. He's someone that the Maple Leafs they really need him as well in the playoffs. Uh, the Maple Leafs they're not going to hold him back if he can make a return. You can expect to see him back into the lineup, but uh, you, Andrew says, yeah, we want him to be healthy. Definitely, you want Jake Muzzin healthy in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He's someone who's won 2 Stanley Cups with the Los Angeles Kings. He knows what it takes to win in the playoffs. and he's someone that he might be able to have a positive impact on this team in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's a good comment. You always want every player to be healthy, and right now, I guess the Leafs put him on long term because that's probably the best decision for him and where he's at. But hopefully, we get him back before the playoffs because we've talked about it on the show too before. Only guy that's won a cup, so he's got a lot of valuable experience that he could provide to the Maple Leafs down the stretch here.
And you know what? John mentions a name that I would love to see
Oh,
the Toronto
yeah,
Maple
that's a
Leafs
good.
acquire. Uh, he's got an
Yeah,
interesting contract situation. He wants to
I'll
be
look it
paid.
up.
He wants to be paid more than he wants to be paid as he should be paid. And the Dallas Stars don't seem to be willing to give him that money. He's a
Really?
free agent at the end of the season, right-handed shot defenseman. John Klingberg would be a player that makes the Toronto Maple Leafs blue line better, and that's something that you'd love to have.
Yeah, he's got good stats. He's a good player.
Yeah, he's a great defenseman, and that's someone that the Maple Leafs would definitely like to add. I'm not sure if they'll
Yeah.
actually end up being in the market for him or not, though.
And even so, he's coming off. He wants to be re-signed, so it'd definitely be a short-term rental, and probably have to give up a lot.
Wolf Tank and Pokey says, "I like the sound of Shabbat too," and
Shabbat.
I don't think Thomas Shabbat's getting traded from the Ottawa Senators
What's this?
within Ontario.
NHL? What's this
Uh,
NHL?
I don't
Leafs
think
get Shabbat?
I don't
What?
think that's not going to happen. If it does happen, I'd be really surprised.
I doubt Ottawa's going to give up Shabbat. He's 25. He's one of the face of their franchise.
Yeah, it doesn't seem reasonable. And why would they trade him to a team in their same province that's a division rival? It doesn't make sense at all if you're the Ottawa Senators. But uh, I think that's going to wrap up today's post game show. We've been on here for over an hour tonight. Crazy events that transpired tonight in the 10-7 victory for the Toronto Maple Leafs over the Detroit Red Wings. Clarky, do you have any closing words for Maple Leafs media viewers?
It was a crazy game, and yeah, it was a game that I did not think was going to happen the way it did, but overall, it was great to watch, and obviously great to come back on here, and a lot of great comments tonight by all the fans, and everyone just sharing their opinions about Leafs, the game, and trade deadline coming up. So there's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about, and I know this is the best place to come because when I'm not here, at least the shows are way better. So um, yeah, thank you for having me on. Thanks for everyone for coming in here and commenting tonight. And until next time, always appreciate smash that like button. Follow Varco on all his channels. He's really working hard here. I just come on and do the easy stuff. I just flap my gums and say whatever little stuff I know about hockey, but he's working day in, day out. So, give him a follow on his socials and YouTube channel. It's a tough go to do this every day, but you're grinding, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you, Clarky. I appreciate you coming on here, spending the last over the last hour, uh, s- talking hockey, talking Maple Leafs with us. And if you haven't already, please make sure you smash that like button below. Hit the notification bell to be notified every time new content's being released on the channel. And Clarky was mentioning my other socials, so if you haven't, uh, if you don't know already, I'm a aspiring sports journalist, just getting into the industry. So if you haven't already, also check out my Twitter account. I've sent over 200 tweets in the past month,
Jeez.
just about sports, a wide variety of sports, football,
Oh, so that's why
basketball.
your girlfriend's getting mad at you lately.
That's probably
I'm
that might
kidding. I'm kidding.
that's I don't know what you're talking about, but it would make sense, wouldn't it? But
I'm
yeah,
just kidding.
I just dropped a link to my Twitter in the comment section, so check that out. I'd appreciate it if you could give it a follow. Thank you for watching, and Clarky again. Thank you for spending the last hour on here.
Until next time, see ya.